Hello there, this is Rom coming back at you with yet another smartphone couch video. Yeah, I'm going to follow up on my yesterday's video talking about it's easier now than back in the day. Like, you know what, I had quite a few dudes who didn't agree with that. Now, one of them, I asked them, I said, were you alive in the 70s? And they didn't answer that. They talking all this other stuff. Look, let me be clear. A lot of dudes thinking it was some paradise back in the day didn't live back then. How you gonna say that? Yet some guys who actually lived back then, they were like, oh yeah. Had one dude, I'm gonna shout him out. Dude said he's 66. He said he getting women like crazy now. Older than me. Because that's the first thing is, you didn't live back then. How do you know? It wasn't no paradise. I was back then. In fact, the biggest difference is, regardless of whatever you think about these women nowadays, you see them for what they are. That's actually better. You actually know what you're dealing with. Because back in the day, they were doing all that. Back in the day, even when like somebody had posted something, said, well, that dude just had this couple grandparents been married for a long time. Yeah, well, how much did they cheat though? How much did they cheat? That was one thing that happened a lot. Like you have a couple, they've been together for a long time. But then there were two things that would probably happen. That happened a lot. When the man died, he have his family there, but it'd be a woman back in the back with a couple kids. And that dude had another family. And then even with the kids dude had with his wife, one of those kids might look different from all the other ones. Because remember, we didn't have paternity testing like they do now. We couldn't swab like they do. And I'm talking with some elders about this. They had to look at the kids. And they kept a lot of shit quiet. They kept a lot of shit on the low. You know, if like some like kid, like some girl got pregnant early or something, they would send her away to live with some cousins. Or you get situations where maybe the mother would raise that child. She have a child they do something. They hid a lot of shit back in the day. And then you had a lot of women cheating like crazy. They were cheating like crazy. Where do you think that term, is it the milkman's baby, came from? You had, listen to some of those old blues songs. They were doing their stuff because I talked to my elders. They were getting down. See, one of the differences is now women can't hide what they doing now. And I'm going to tell you what, you don't want them to hide what they doing now. They letting you know what they're doing now. They're being straight up about it. And even in some of those relationships you thought were a long time, I talked with many of those elders. They stayed for survival. Women, they couldn't just go out and do stuff. Now, some guys might think that's cool, but one of those women might have been cheating on them too. As soon as those women got a chance, they rolled out. I mean, I remember meeting quite a few women who been with a man. They would say they've been with a man 20 years, 30 years or something. All of a sudden they roll out. And it's like, why'd you stay with him that long? And they be like, survival. Shit, I remember the 1990s dealing with this woman, older woman, and she had been married to this guy for 20 years. I was like, and she just rolled. He ain't do anything wrong. Survival. Women cheating. That baby coming out not looking like either the parents. They were doing stuff, but here's the difference. The biggest difference was they weren't able to, the biggest difference was they couldn't really test that child. There was a lot of stuff going on, but they kept it real quiet. And quiet as it's kept, they had abortion back in the day too. That's why something like Roe v. Wade was important. And there was, shoot, I knew of some women who used those coat hangers, who still had those abortions. There was a lot of stuff. There's a lot of dirty stuff going on back in the day. Shoot, trust me, it wasn't no paradise. Some guys might think it's some paradise. Nah, the women honest now. And you know what? I had one guy was like, well, they rejecting 85% of the population because, look, they free now. But see, here's the thing now. One of the main things I'm doing is I'm telling you how to get part of that 15% who's getting the women. I'm telling you what to do because you see everything now and you know everything now. You know how the women going to behave, and it's better that you see them for what they are. Then you can respond the way you want to respond. But it wasn't no paradise. And like I said at the beginning of this video, how would you know? You weren't there. Even when I challenged somebody on that, I said, well, you're alive in the 70s. They came up with all this other shit instead of answering the damn question. And you know me, I don't put up with that bullshit. People get mad and everything. They don't realize they think it's some fantasy shit. And like I even said in the video yesterday, don't think your grandmama wasn't getting down. Don't think she ain't suck some motherfucking dick. Don't think she ain't do somebody doggy style. Don't think they ain't do whatever. Cause shoot, like I've talked to some elders, the stuff they were doing back in the 1920s. Probably before that. You just didn't hear about it. See, here's the problem. A lot of dudes want to think it was some golden age or some shit. No, it wasn't. Even for some of these Bammers out here thinking the 50s were some golden age. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. Because you talk to some elders, like have a real conversation with them, and they will tell you. But see, you have a lot of guys, they don't want to talk to them. They want to think, oh, well, these women changed. They did all this. Yeah, your mama might have treated you right, but you don't know. And that guy you think might be your father, he might not be. I'm just being real. There was a lot of shit happening. Like I said about even when some couple been together a long time, they might have had a bunch of kids, but one of those kids might not have been. I know of one situation, this woman, and she was the grandmother of a good lady friend of mine, but her father was not the guy that was raising her. And I know some stories. I talked to some of these elders, the way they were getting down, and I was seeing cheating back, and I was a little child. I was a little child in the 60s and 70s. And I was seeing how women were cheating. They were doing a whole bunch of stuff. The biggest difference now is you know what you're getting into. You know what you got to really do. Like even back then, you had some guys thinking, oh, you just needed some money. And yeah, you had some guys providing. But then as soon as that guy went out the door, there was somebody hopping over the fence. Like I said, listen to some of those old blues songs. Listen to some of them. Then that, like I said, that's where that term, is it the milkman's baby? The milkman, those door-to-door salesmen, they were tearing up some shit. The biggest difference, the biggest thing back in the day is they just hid shit. And see, like I said earlier, I'm going to say this, I'm going to hammer this. You got a lot of dudes talking, you weren't there. Were you there? Did you actually talk with somebody? Do you have a time machine? Seriously, you weren't there. How you know what happened? You want to pretend like it's some fancy, and yeah, it might be bad from your point of view now, but trust me, they were hiding shit back in the day. Trust me. Talk to some elders. Sit down and talk to some elders. Have a real conversation with some elders. Have a real conversation with them, and they will tell you. And the reason why I say it's better nowadays, for the reasons I said yesterday, shoot, you got a better. You ain't stuck in wherever. You can go all over the world. Shoot, especially with social, I'm like, with social media now and all this other stuff, shoot, you got a better range. Now, the only thing you have to do now is different, is you do need to work to be select, but that's what I tell you how to do. And yeah, you might get rejected now, but look, it's better you get rejected now and then know what you got to do to improve than like you take that child and thinking they need your blood or something, or they need something from you genetic, and you find out the hard way they ain't your child. Shoot. You know, I've talked to some elders about that. And this, let me be clear. This ain't no racial thing anyway. I remember this older white guy. Then this older white guy, he probably in his late 60s or 70s now. He was telling me about a friend of his. He had raised this girl to when she was an adult, and found out that wasn't his daughter. So that was all the way around. That was all the way around. And like I said, they had abortion. So, I mean, it was a lot of stuff going on. It was a lot of stuff going on. Don't be on some bull. Don't be, look. If you weren't, here's the bottom line. You weren't there. They hid shit. And yeah, you got some dudes having trouble now, but dude, and somebody even said this in the comments yesterday. You got people telling you some shit. Because back then, shoot, unless you had an uncle or a father or an older friend or something in the neighborhood giving you some game, telling you what's up, you really didn't know. See, that's something else too. When you got these videos, if you don't have to watch me, but if you watch a bunch of other people, you can get an idea what's going on. You got people telling you some shit. Shoot, you got social media. Some women trying to cheat, she can get busted in the act. Back then, she could just get away with it. There was a whole lot of stuff happening. Don't think it was something like everything was all peachy clean and all of that shit. Fuck all that. Just be honest with it. And I had to say that seriously. And I'm gonna say for the umpteenth time in this particular video, you weren't there. How the fuck would you know what's happening? All right? Don't complain. And if you having trouble now, look, you got people like me telling you some shit. You got other people. You got all this stuff to help you out. In fact, a man really, you get some men back there. They just were in a fucked up position. And at least now you can get better help. So it's better on many levels. All right. So anyway, that's all I had. But I gotta stick with that. And like I said, and if you still want to challenge that, tell me what year that you live. If you don't tell me what year you lived back then, and you want to challenge anything I'm saying, I'm deleting your comment. Because I don't have time for that shit. You weren't there. You weren't there. How many elders you talked to? And like I said, I've talked to some elders. They would tell me some stuff going back to the 1920s. They were telling me some stuff, and like I said, you go to that funeral or something. You had that good father, that good grandpa and stuff. You'd be like, well, who's that in the back there? who's that other woman in the back with some? I ain't never seen them before. Oh shoot, paternity fraud. If you think it's bad now, it's always been bad. The thing we got now is you can find out. Like anybody who like want to jump on women, they can't get away with as much now. Nobody can. They can't get away with it like they used to. They used to go to their deathbed with it. This ain't no new shit. Everybody thinking some new shit going on. I told you, this shit been happening. All right? This shit been happening. Don't think it's something new. All right? So, look, just remember what I'm saying, all right? Just remember, take that in consideration. Because now you can see how the women are, and then you can see what you need to do. And then there's more out here. You got some people telling you what to do. And if you You talking about some 80-20 or whatever. You got people telling you how to become part of that 20%. All right? That's one thing. You just had to back in the day, you just had to be lucky. If you didn't have like that father or uncle or big brother or in the right neighborhood, man, they suffered. Trust me. Every dude back in the day did not get a woman. They had that select and non-select thing way going back. Only difference is guys can do something about it now. Some guys, if they in the wrong place, wrong neighborhood, wrong whatever, they were just fucked up. They were just fucked up. All right. So anyway, that's all I got for today. And gotta do this. Got a bunch of extra stuff I gotta do today. All right. So anyway, I'll talk to y'all. Peace.